The impact of mental health on life choices. A deep dive. Sometimes it's not the big, obvious traumas that shift the course of our lives, but the quiet, invisible battles we fight within ourselves each day. These are the moments no one sees, the sleepless nights, the forced smiles, the exhaustion masked as strength. Mental health isn't always loud, it doesn't always look like breakdowns or hospital visits. Sometimes it's a slow erosion of confidence, a growing silence, a persistent feeling of not enough. These silent struggles don't just affect our emotions, they shape our relationships, careers, identities, and decisions in ways we often don't recognize until it's too late. Yet within each of these stories lies a turning point, an awakening, a question, a moment of truth that brings everything into focus. Let's take a deep dive into 4 real-life inspired journeys that reveal how mental health can quietly shape the direction of a life, and how hope can begin with being seen. Jason lived for deadlines, accolades, and approval. At 32, his life looked perfect. Sleek apartment, designer suits, and a 6-figure job. But every night, he lay awake, paralyzed by anxiety and the crushing weight of expectations. He smiled through meetings, snapped at interns, and started relying on Adderall and wine to stay balanced. Colleagues praised his work ethic, calling him a machine. His family proudly shared his LinkedIn posts. No one questioned the shadows under his eyes or the frequent migraines. His mood swings were dismissed as stress. "He's just intense," they said. One evening, Jason collapsed in his apartment, alone. The paramedics said it wasn't fatal, but it could have been. In rehab, a therapist asked him, "When did you last feel proud of yourself without needing anyone's applause?" That moment pierced something deep. Jason cried for the first time in years, not out of weakness but relief. He realized he'd been chasing validation, not peace. That single question, about his self-worth outside of performance, shattered his armor. Jason finally admitted he wasn't okay. He stepped away from law for 6 months, began therapy, and started painting again, a childhood passion. His identity shifted from the achiever to simply a human being. He now speaks openly about burnout in corporate culture, hoping others won't wait for collapse to choose healing. Key takeaways from Jason's experience. The following should be avoided. 1. Glorifying burnout as ambition. 2. Ignoring physical signs like insomnia and dependency. 3. Mislabeling irritability as mere intensity. 4. Tying self-worth solely to success. 5. Waiting for collapse to address stress. Maya was the kind of person who never said no, always helpful, always agreeable. At 27, she had become a shell of herself, living with a partner who controlled every aspect of her life. She stopped seeing friends, wore what he approved, and apologized even when she hadn't done anything wrong. Her friends chalked it up to her being busy. At work, she smiled too much and never asked for help, even when she was overwhelmed. Her manager said, "Maya's the sweetest. We never hear a complaint from her." They didn't see her panic attacks in the restroom or her numb stare during meetings. Then one day at work, she broke down after a coworker made a joke about her always avoiding happy hour. A kind colleague followed her and quietly asked, "Are you safe at home?" Lightbulb moment. No one had ever asked her that, not even her family. That moment of being seen cracked her silence. That night, Maya looked in the mirror and whispered, "I don't want to disappear." She found a domestic violence hotline and began therapy. Within 2 months, she left the relationship, found a support group, and slowly began rebuilding her identity. She now advocates for women's mental health and teaches others the difference between kindness and self-erasure. Key takeaways from this experience. The following should be avoided. 1. Mistaking compliance for contentment. Dismissing isolation as introversion. 2. Overlooking subtle control in relationships. 3. Ignoring chronic anxiety hidden behind a smile. Assuming silence means safety. Rahul had 2 lives, the obedient son studying pre-med to please his parents, and the secret artist writing screenplays at night. He was constantly torn between culture, duty, and his true calling. His parents called his filmmaking dreams a phase. Friends didn't understand his silence. Professors said he wasn't living up to his potential. Rahul's mood changed gradually. Once warm and talkative, he became withdrawn. He skipped meals, isolated himself, and got into arguments over small things. When he vented about his family's pressure, people responded with, "Just do what makes you happy," not understanding the guilt layered in cultural expectations. One day, he attended a campus short film screening. The lead character was a second-generation immigrant facing the same identity conflict. The parallels were uncanny. Rahul couldn't hold back tears. Watching that story made him feel seen. He wasn't broken, just unheard. That film gave him permission to choose himself. He began therapy, then switched majors, eventually directing his first documentary about cultural duality. When his film was screened internationally, even his parents, once skeptical, attended, visibly moved. Today, Rahul mentors immigrant students navigating identity crises, telling them, "You're allowed to want both roots and wings." Key takeaways from Rahul's experience. The following should be avoided. 1. Imposing narrow dreams on children. 2. Downplaying identity conflict in immigrant homes. 3. Shaming creative expression as unserious. 4. Equating academic struggle with laziness. 5. Invalidating emotions tied to cultural guilt. Lisa had always been the strong mom, organized, gentle, always giving. But after her third child, she started unraveling. Postpartum depression crept in silently. She felt nothing but fatigue and guilt. Every morning felt like wading through fog. She forgot simple things, burned food, and stared at walls for hours. Her husband said she was moody. Her mother said, "All mothers go through this," and friends thought she was just overwhelmed. No one noticed the slow dimming of her spark. She stopped attending church, quit replying to messages, and forced herself to smile at the kids. Then one quiet afternoon, her 7-year-old son crawled into her lap and asked, "Mommy, do you still like being my mommy?" Light bulb moment. It wasn't an accusation, it was concern from a child. That question shattered her numbness. She wept, for the first time in months. That night, she searched for postpartum support groups and finally admitted, "I need help." Therapy helped her reclaim her joy and rewrite her narrative as a mother, not one of perfection but presence. Lisa now shares her story with new mothers, reminding them, your exhaustion isn't weakness, it's a signal, and asking for help is the strongest thing you can do. Key takeaways from this experience: the following should be avoided. 1. Minimizing postpartum depression as mood swings. 2. Romanticizing motherhood to the point of silencing pain. 3. Dismissing exhaustion as a phase, assuming silence means coping. 4. Expecting mothers to never ask for help. 1. Talk about mental health like we do physical health, early, often, and openly. 2. Encourage therapy that understands your background, faith, and social context. 3. Just like physicals, create space for mental wellness check-ins in workplaces, homes, and schools. 4. Advocate for government-subsidized or community-based counseling, especially in low-income areas. 5. Sometimes the best support isn't from professionals but people who've walked the same road. 6. Replace labels like crazy or weak with empathy and education. One moment of kindness can save a life. 7. Teach kids early how to manage stress, express emotion, and seek help. Life choices aren't made in a vacuum. They're filtered through the lens of mental health. Behind every dropout, every toxic relationship, every abandoned dream or silent scream, there's often a story untold. But when we begin to listen, really listen, we give each other the chance not just to survive, but to choose better, freer, more fulfilling lives. Because mental health isn't just personal, it's generational, and healing starts with understanding. If this video stirred something in you, don't ignore it. Whether you're silently struggling or watching someone who might be, remember, early acknowledgement can change everything. Check in on your strong friend. Speak up when the silence feels too loud. Mental health isn't a weakness, it's part of being human. Share this video to a friend, build conversations. Your voice could be the lifeline someone else is waiting for. Healing begins the moment we stop hiding. Let's break the silence, one story, one step, one person at a time. If you or someone you know is struggling, reach out. Help is real, hope is real, and you are not alone. If you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel. The Untold Realities, for more life-saving insights and powerful life lessons that will help us all grow together. Your support helps us reach more people who need to hear that help is real. Hope is real, and recovery is possible. You are not alone. Let's keep walking this path, together. Thank you for watching.